The AsIs podcast does not necessarily hold the views or opinions of our guests. The guests have a right to express their own thoughts, and those thoughts are protected with their freedom of speech. What they say is what they say, and we allow them the right to speak on their own behalf. The AsIs podcast is not responsible nor liable for the opinions and stories of others. Welcome to another edition of the AsIs podcast. Today's guest is Black Lives Matter president and leader of New York, Hawk Newsome. Hawk, how you doing, man?
I'm good, family. How you feeling today?
I'm good, man. Hey, I want to just give a disclaimer right from the gate. I am pro-black. I am very familiar with Black Lives Matter, and I'm just going to give you some background on myself really quickly. I organized and took care of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Jacob Blake in Chicago. I've been to Wisconsin, Kenosha, Houston. I ran with them for about 7 or 8 months. Now, I say that to say that I'm very familiar with certain chapters of Black Lives Matter. Not with New York, because I'm currently in Chicago. I own a nationally distributed magazine, 2 of them, and our home base is New York, but I'm in Chicago. So the moral of the story, and what I want to get into right now with you, is my voice is going to speak from experience for Chicago and Black Lives Matter, not New York. So I don't know anything about New York as far as that organization is. So I just want to...
I like that. I like that because a lot of times I don't speak to people who are on the front lines.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this is definitely going to be a different type of conversation because you'll understand things that a lot of people won't get. So this we'll be able to penetrate a couple of layers, and really get to it on this. I appreciate that.
Hey, this is as is, and we tell it the way it is. So let's just start off. First, why don't you give me some background on yourself?
Cool, man. I'm born and raised in the Bronx, not too far from Yankee Stadium, Shiesty Ave, 164.
Very familiar. My mom's lived. Let me just tell you real quick. I read that about you. My mom's come from 183rd and Grand, right off Fordham. So you are a hop, skip, and a jump away. So I'm very familiar where you at. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, indeed. So actually, my parents met at Roosevelt High School, a couple blocks from where your mom's, from your mom's block.
Okay.
My father was leading a rally. They had fought to get an African American studies class, and they got the class, but they gave him a white teacher. So my father let her walk out. My mother was upstairs in the room looking out the window. He called up, we out here, we protesting. Girl, what you doing in the class? It was a lot of black power fists and afros, and
right.
And my mother came downstairs. My aunt introduced them, and the rest is really, Black history.
Okay.
So I really grew up in the hood. I love sports. I played a lot of basketball. I played for Riverside Church. I was on the same team as Ron Artest, Elton Brand. A lot of. I think one of the last great generations of New York basketball. But I was playing ball with them. But I wanted to be in the streets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
I wasn't fully in, but everybody was. I just wanted to be down, man. I should have been a good kid playing basketball, but I just wanted to be down with what's going on outside. Got my stuff together after I got in trouble a couple times. I got my stuff together, got my GED. Then I went off. I played ball in college. I graduated. I worked for the Bronx District Attorney's Office, which was really interesting because when I would have to go and serve papers to the jail, I'll never forget the first time I had to go to the bullpens on 161st, right?
Right.
I had to go down there and serve papers. I had this look on my face. And the CO was like, big man, I'm about 6'5", 250, 300, depending on the year, right?
Right.
And the CO was like, big man, what's wrong with you? You look like you ready to pop. And I'm like, I was triggered, bro, because the last time I was in there was very different circumstances. But it's amazing what you hear when you work on that side of it, right?
Right.
I'll tell you from personal experience, the majority of these prosecutors supposed to be keeping our jobs safe, keeping our streets safe. Look at us all like criminals. They
Right.
work hand in hand with the cops every day. They date the cops. The Bronx district attorney is married to a cop. So when you
Wow.
start talking about these DAs prosecuting cops, like, it's crazy. It's like co-workers. It's like telling a teammate to prosecute another teammate. So I went to law school. When I was in law school, Trayvon Martin happened. I led my first couple of rallies then, and after I came out, I ran for office. But I ran for city council in the Bronx. But I was the same dude now. I was a radical revolutionary with revolutionary ideas and just ideas about what black people deserve. And folks wasn't really hearing that. They rather hear politicians talk nice and give them free turkey. So I lost that. And right after I lost, Eric Gardner happened. Once Eric Gardner happened, they let that pig go. Who killed him? I took to the streets, and I've been in the streets ever since. So since 2014, man, ain't a month go by. You know what I'm saying?
That you haven't been out there.
That's it. I'm sorry, man. I'm out on the terrace
No, it's
enjoying a
okay.
cigar.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay because we do things the way we do things. In any event, those times what you just described sound like that. And understand what I'm saying. That sounded like there was sincerity there. It sounded like it was a passion. It was something that ate at you, as is with most black men, because we get tired of
Hmm.
the same things. Now, what changes and what changed the scope for you, or did the scope change upon starting BLM?
Oh wow. Okay. So I was marching around. I was a member of a couple of organizations. You know what I mean? And I was like bouncing around. And I realized that BLM didn't have a real presence in New York,
Right.
right? So I started Black Lives Matter Greater New York. I got a team. Back then we had a rapper, you know what I mean, who used to throw bread at us and be like, "Yo, just go fight.
Right.
Don't worry about it. Just call me whatever you need." And things got real hot for him, and he kind of had to back away. So
Can you
but
name
but
them?
but I'd rather not. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? I'd rather not
That's
because
cool.
like last time they arrested me, counterterrorism came to the cell and it said, "Well, what are you and him working on?" You know what I mean? So I understand why he had to distance himself from me because I'm hot right now. Like
Right.
I'm hot.
Oh,
Not, I'm
you're definitely hot. We gonna get to that, but
yeah.
you're definitely
Yeah.
hot. Okay,
Yeah.
continue.
So we established ourselves and as a real black voice, we've never been part of the Black Lives Matter global network. Actually, they had a lot of animosity for us. What a lot of people don't know is to be a leader in the Black Lives Matter movement, you have to either be gay, a member of the LGBTQ plus community, or you have to be a woman. But we in this movement putting our lives on the line, getting beat up by cops, fighting back, and then they turn around and turn around and tell me I ain't got no place in the movement. So I'm like, fuck you. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like, I can't what? And this is about black people. So it's always been there's no love lost in the relationships. And if there was a progression over time, you know, I've always said the things that people are afraid to say, but at one point I thought I could convince white people to understand what was going on to us. I thought if you put it to them logically, they'll understand and they'll wake up and they'll try and help us. That's absolutely not the way to go about this thing.
Definitely
Way to
not.
go about this thing is to build up the black community.
Exactly.
So that's the type of time I've been on.
Well, let me get to this. Let me get to what's really urgent, what I want to say. I'm going to tell you why I am disappointed with Black Lives Matter. Now, I don't
Uh huh.
know, again, about your chapter or New York. So what I'm saying is based on what I've seen in Chicago and what I've seen in the news. One of the things that I
Hmm.
don't like about Black Lives Matter is that I think it is a opportunist movement. I think that
Okay.
they've made a lot of money. They've
Mm-hmm.
taken that money and spent it on themselves, and they've done
Mm-hmm.
nothing for black people. And the reason why I say that, let me tell you, in Chicago, the crime rate is ridiculous. Kids are getting
Yeah.
killed just sitting in their cars. And we're not talking 16, 17-year-old kids. We're talking babies, 2, 3, 4 years old. And their
Yeah.
parents, they don't have any money, man. And
Mm-hmm.
then at the same time, you have these Black Lives Matter people running around. And when something happens to somebody black, they don't do anything. The only time they try to do anything is if somebody white does something. I'm pro-black.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you can't be pro-black and be selectively pro-black, meaning you're going to take care who you want to and who you don't want to, you're going to ignore. That's not pro-black. That is not
Yeah.
taking care of everybody that's Black Lives Matter. So I think a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the funds were being misappropriated, and I think people were using it to be opportunists. And it kind of pissed me off. I'll give you a direct example. We did a rally in Chicago for Jacob Blake. Jacob Blake was the young man who got shot in the back 7 times point blank by the police.
In Kenosha.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They're from Chicago, though, but it happened in Kenosha. Kenosha is maybe, I don't know, 90
No,
minutes
I
away.
was out there. I was out there fighting against Paul Ryan. I was trying to get people to register to vote to get him out of there.
Okay,
I'm
so
familiar.
we might have seen each other. Who knows? But these dudes, and the women. There's a Black Lives Matter chapter in Kenosha. And there's a young man that I know that me and him got into it as well. And what I didn't realize is that they're chapters, and a lot of the chapters are independent, and they're not associated with the young ladies that are in L.A. I didn't realize or understand why. Perhaps maybe I'm understanding a little why now. But the moral of the story is when you don't really know, you paint a brush with BLM for everybody. It's not selective as this is for New York or this is for LA. So when you get a bad taste in your mouth, you just get a bad taste in your mouth for BLM. You don't get a bad taste in your mouth for Black Lives Matter in LA or Black Lives Matter in Chicago or Atlanta. It's just a bad taste because it appears as if they're selective in what they fight for. How true is that? And have you heard that before?
It's absolutely true. What BLM created, which was smart, was a decentralized movement. They tried to call it, a leaderless movement, but it's impossible to have a leaderless movement. Um, we're fighting against this machine that is white supremacy, that is systemic racism, and in my opinion, it has to be run like a corporation, right? You have to handle the business of black liberation like a business, right? So you have your leaders, you have your managers, and you have your people on the ground level, your everyday types of people. I think what you said is accurate in a lot of ways. Like there could have been so much more done with the money that was spent, but when you start talking about nonprofit or an organization, it is a corporation, right? So people are paid salaries. Like I don't think just because people are fighting for black liberation, they should be starving, right? Nobody's gonna say that the CEO of the Salvation Army shouldn't be paid, right?
Right.
Now, if you want to say don't pay them a ridiculous amount of money, like you got a pastor who's making like millions of dollars a year, I'm with you on that. But at the same time, I think a person should be paid commensurate with their experience. Like if I look at myself with my education, I got a business degree, I have a law degree. In my communication skills, I could be somewhere as an attorney making tons of money. But I'm going to pay myself a decent salary. Nothing that's obscene, but I'll pay myself so I can take care of myself and take care of my family. Um, Back to what you were saying about Black Lives Matter, it's levels to this movement. Now, what people see when they think about Black Lives Matter, they think about millions of people in the street or thousands of people in the street. What they don't understand is when you see the millions in the street, 98% of those people are not in this fight for the long haul. They're just people who saw something on TV that are outraged, that just took to the streets to protest. So when you talk about like individual groups like BLM, Greater and NY, our core membership has never been more than 10 people.
Wow.
Partially because we are extremely paranoid, right? But when we take to the streets, we could bring out a couple hundred. I think the most we ever brought out was 25,000 people, right?
Wow.
But we in that core membership, we got my sister left a career in finance. The guy who founded our school along with us, the one who runs it every day, he got like 2 3 master's degrees. He's and he's only like 29. Our former CEO had degree in forensic accounting. We just got like a real diverse group of people, but they are high functioning, educated people. We also have folks who are formerly incarcerated that are just straight up smart. So we are a very productive group. Like I said, we have a charter school in the Bronx. That's the only true Montessori school in the Bronx, and we believe in teaching our kids in a culturally appropriate way. Legislation, we are involved in politics in the sense are that we are advocating to get laws passed that benefit our people. We passed 7 laws in the last 6 years, right?
Okay.
Last year during COVID, we launched something called the People's Food Program. We
Right.
delivered food to 250 doors a day. We fed 25,000 people across 3 states last year.
Wow.
We are, yeah, we're impactful. We led the charge to get the cop that killed Eric Garner fired. We brought help to bring a lot of cases of injustice out to the forefront.
But
Now, what
how? Let me
happens
ask you this:
is
how did you
that,
finance yourself? How was that being financed?
oh man, I told you we had a rapper who used to give us some money. But most of our donations came with $10 here, $50 there on PayPal, on Cash App, on Venmo. We had small dollar donations. So when we went down to Minnesota, like 2 days after the death of George Floyd, when we went down there, we like, hey, this is where we going. We need to raise money. So we had to get plane tickets for 8 people, hotels, things like that. So everything we do is like really hustle. Like, we hustle. It's like, hey, we're doing this. We need some money to feed people. We need some money. We raised 50 something $1,000 to do that COVID relief effort, the People's Food Program. So it's small dollar donations. Now I'm gonna give you the grit. I'm gonna give you the real. I'm the person. We are the people that say the Republicans are against us, but these white liberals don't necessarily have our best interests in mind. It's something that all black people know that most black people won't say. So when you do things like that, you kind of limit the funding opportunities you'll get from these major foundations, from these corporations. Like, it's like, man, listen, you out here telling the truth. You're not watering it down. You're not politically correct. So we don't know if we can stand next to you. That's cool because when I go to, when I'm in Houston, when I'm in the Fifth Ward, people know what time it is. Like they respect our work. When we down in Atlanta, people respect our work. When we walking through the streets of the Bronx and all over New York City, people respect us because of how we deliver for our people. We say the things that black people say in their homes, but too afraid to say out in public because they don't want to lose their jobs or get arrested or whatever.
There's a lot of that. There's a
I'm
big
sorry. What'd you say, brother?
there's a lot of that. There's a lot of silence because people don't want to be associated with the truth, or they feel as if they're going to be ostracized if they say the wrong thing.
Yeah. Like white supremacy does a great job of keeping black people in line, right? On the very front line is the police. The police are there. Think about it. If you stand up and you in your community and you question why you here harassing me, why you here disrespecting us, they throw you in jail. They keep you in line there. You go on social media, you talk too greasy, you're gonna get banned and blocked from social media, or people from your job will see it, and you might get fired. Like they got so many ways to castrate us, right?
Right.
That it's insane. You have black celebrities who will come out and say things but won't go too far because they don't want their money to
Be messed up.
to stop.
I
Like
know.
that we're controlled in a lot of ways by that.
I get it. I've definitely witnessed that. But let's get into this because right now you are public enemy number one in New York. Let me just give a quote, and I believe I'll parrot quote, and it says, no, I'll just give you a quote. It says, how Hawk Newsome went from failed politician to rogue BLM boss. You know, your persona, you big as fuck. I gotta say that. You look like you definitely play football. You black, you bald headed, and you running around with a cigar in your mouth. So that persona is not something that America is used to when it comes to civil rights. That would be more so of, according to their standards, a thug look.
Yeah, and I got a missing tooth. Yeah, yeah. I'm one of the people.
And I
You know
get
what
it.
I mean? Like I'm one of the people.
But now you're one of
And
the
people
people who's threatened the city of New York with the
see.
incumbent
Here's the
mayor
thing.
Eric Adams. Let me just go into it before, and I'll let you speak and say exactly what you want. According to
Hmm.
them, according to news reports, you've threatened with riots, bloodshed, and burning the city down. Expound on that.
I told them what was going to happen, and they called it a threat. Okay. I told them exactly what was going to happen if the new mayor brings back this police unit, the plain clothes unit, the anti-crime unit in New York City. We call them the jump out boys. I don't know what they call them in Chicago, but they're the ones who ride around undercover, unmarked cars, plain clothes, and they just jump out and frisk you whenever they want to.
They used to be called
These are the
T.
same individuals who, when you are driving in your car, pull you over, frisk you in front of your children. I remember one time, I tell a lot of stories. I jump around a bit. If you need me to backtrack, just let me know. I was coming from my grandmother's house going home with my sister. I had to be 14, which made her about 7. This anti-crime unit pulled us over on 174th and University. That's right in front of Cedric Ave. That's right in front of where Cool Herc created hip hop. They pulled 2 babies out of a car, frisked us, and looked through all of our shopping bags that was in the back of the cab and said, well, people are out here robbing taxis. No apology, no nothing. They frisked babies. Okay. And this is and you could be sitting on your block hanging out, they jump out, they frisk you. Like these are the same cops, bro. These are the same cops that killed Amadou Diallo. This was way back in the day. They shot him 41 times for reaching for his wallet. These are the same cops that killed Eric Garner, right?
Right.
These are the same cops that killed Sean Bell. I don't know if y'all remember. Sean Bell went out, had some drinks with his boys the night before his weapon.
I remember
These
his
plain,
wedding.
these
His
plain
wedding.
clothes, yeah, his wedding, right?
Right. I
These
remember.
plain clothes cops shot him 51 times. A cop stood on top of the hood of his car and emptied clip after clip into the car, bro.
I
And
remember.
this cop was let off scot free. There were no weapons found. The brothers who survived the shooting were bleeding, had holes in their bodies. They took them, laid them down, face down on the ground, and handcuffed them and let them bleed on the ground as they waited for the ambulance. This is what he's trying to bring back.
But
This is what he's trying to bring
let me
back.
let me play devil's advocate. And first of all, before they were the anti-crime unit, they were TNT.
Come on, man. You know what time it is. You know what time it is.
I'm a New
Yeah.
Yorker, homie. Don't get it twisted
Yeah,
because I'm in
exactly.
Chicago. I know what it is. And I'm a felon. So I've been locked
Hmm.
up. And they done jumped out on me before. But they were dirty with it.
Exactly.
I'm going to tell you a quick story. I was sitting on Fordham and 183rd, and it used to be a Blockbuster right on the corner. No, it was a Burger King. And I remember being in a cab just like you described. And a lot of times, when you go to do whatever you got to do, you deliver via a cab. And I was sitting with work in my pocket, and I had a gun, and I had the gun
Mm-hmm.
in the car, and I put it in the back seat. Stuck it in between the seats. Long story short, here they come. I don't know what made and I always made a mental note to not have on a baseball cap or sweat hood. I always want to look inconspicuous because they can, they
Yeah, you
profile.
want to look like you was doing dirt.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm looking like, I might have had a white shirt on and a sweater, which is my uniform. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna throw you off. Long story short, they jumped out, got up in the cab, they took the gun, threw the drugs back on the seat, and let the cab let me go.
Wow.
Like that's what happened. So I'm
Wow.
very familiar with that. But now, on the flip side of it, getting back to the story, how do you justify a threat like that, even though everything that you said is 100% correct? But
It
do
ain't a
you?
threat, bro. It's a warning. It's a warning. I'm now I said when I said it, I was very much passionate. But you got these people sticking these cameras and these phone and these recording devices in my face, these microphones. And you're like, well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I said, well, this is what's going to happen. And I explained exactly what I was saying later. We're gonna take to this. I explained it, but they had their soundbite, right? They had their soundbite, and people knew exactly what I was saying and what it would lead to. What, in all honesty, what's gonna happen when he brings this unit back and they murder somebody? I'm not talking about somebody got a gun pointed at a cop and he shoots them. I'm talking about what's gonna happen when this same unit jumps out of a car and somebody pulls out a cell phone to record them and they lay that person down. What do you think is gonna happen in New York? Right?
Normally, if that's a question that I can answer, normally, not a damn thing, because for whatever reason, we don't seem to care. So, like, we don't care overall. I mean, now people are more aware of it and they're more woke. But if you're asking normally what happens, nothing, man, nothing.
Hmm. But now, after last year,
Right. Okay.
after we were supposed to take all of these great steps to improve police community relations, to eradicate racism, right now, when people see that, it's a different type of energy.
Right.
I don't want the riots. I don't want it, right? And I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm that guy who could send all these soldiers out into the street and they're gonna no, that's not I don't have that power. But I'm telling you how people I'm telling them how people are gonna respond. And that's it. But what happened was they had that headline. They had that soundbite and they took it and ran with it. The meeting with the mayor elect, we went out there, protested. He invited us in. We had a discussion in some places. It got heated,
Tell
because
me
he
the
was
heated.
like,
Tell me the heated part.
I said, well, we need a standard by which we can hold you accountable. He said, I'm holding you accountable for bodies in my streets. Hold up, brother. Hold on for 1 second. Here you just ran as a mayor for mayor saying, hold me accountable, hold me accountable, hold me accountable. And the first time you get representatives of the streets in there, of the people who don't always vote, the people who are disinterested, the people who are out there suffering, dying, struggling to survive, their voice, you get their voice in there and they say, how can we hold you accountable? And you flip it around,
Right.
you trying to hide something, right? We men, and when your lady asks you something, you get all defensive. It's like, bro, what you hiding? You know what I mean? And
Right.
what the mayor elect is trying to hide is the fact that he does not have a plan. Okay, he has a lot of talking points, but he doesn't have a plan to ensure that when he sends these cops out there, they're not going to kill our people. They're not going to disrespect, harass, and brutalize our people. So he got real defensive. You know what I mean? He started talking greasy to my sister, and I'm not from that school of men have to jump in every time a woman is involved or something, because I believe that some of the strongest warriors we have as black people are our women, and my sister handled him in that moment. Another second, where another instance when another activist, a real raw brother, you know what I mean, a Muslim brother named Nez asked him, "Well, how do we, um, what did he say? How do we know what you're going to do in the future?" He said, "Have you been hiding under a rock? Look at what I did in the past." Like, these are evasive answers. All we want to know is, what's the plan? We laid out our plan. We gave him options in that room to say, here's what we need to do in our communities. He listened. Some of those things he agreed on.
What
Now, what
what did
the
he agree
media
on?
won't tell you is there were some positive points in that meeting, but that's not what's going to sell papers. That's not what's going to make people click on the link so they can sell advertising dollars.
What did he agree on?
Well, the number one killer of black people is what we put in our bodies, right?
Okay.
So what we propose is, as the city is giving out these free lunches in schools, as they're providing people with free meals, you make those 80% plant-based, right?
Okay.
You put healthy food in our bodies. Studies have shown people who eat better are not only healthy physically, but mentally. And when you start giving people good food and the vitamins that they need, their violent tendencies decrease, right? We talked about curing violence by hiring formerly incarcerated people and gang members to mediate situations in the hoods. Some people do that. But what we want to do is have those same people be program coordinators and train them on how to run different programs in our communities. We want to bring kids in 3 times a week, give them a real education, teach them technology. We all know that artificial intelligence is real. There are self-driving cars. We shop online. Cash registers in stores are automated. We want to teach our kids how to program these machines, so they don't got to be thinking about. So realistically, they won't have to struggle in the future.
Right.
Okay, we want to take people who are caught up in this welfare, in this public assistance cycle, that hamster wheel that you see 2, 3 generations in. We want to take people out of the projects, out of low income houses, and give them job skills, teach them entrepreneurship. I laid all this out. I have a plan for all that. Well, I'm trying to share the knowledge with the mayor. He responded, "Yeah, I've never heard anybody talk about that," or something along those lines. We're talking about grief counselors. So, in a place like Chicago or New York, where there's like 30 people killed in a weekend, three or
Yes.
four of those people might be in the same neighborhood, family.
Yes.
When that happens in white communities or in a white school, they get grief counselors. We
Yes.
want grief counselors on staff. Okay, these are real solutions. So
Yes.
back to the food, he said, "Yeah, Hawk, I read, and I liked the piece you wrote about food. I like these ideas, things along those lines." So there was progress made, but when we came out, the white liberal media, which surprised me, just wanted to focus on two black men arguing, right? And once this started happening, they got the headlines out. Hawk Newsome threatened the city. I told y'all what was going to happen. Let me tell you something. If I throw a ball up in the air, that ball is going to fall back down to earth. If you throw these cops out in the streets and you don't have a plan for them and they just think they're going to run around and just end crime, they're going to kill somebody.
Right.
Okay? They're going to murder somebody and then the streets will erupt. But nobody wants to hear that truth. People don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear things that make them feel comfortable. Nobody wants uncomfortable truths. And that's why you have this. Every network, I'm on a plane flying out west and I see it on CNN. You know, I'm flicking through the channels at night. I hear it on Fox. So I've done too many interviews to count, right?
Right.
And all I keep talking about is they saying, well, New York has high crime. And people don't want to hear this. My mentors are like, stop saying this because people don't really want to hear it. But the mother of crime is poverty. Poverty is the reason why people commit crime. If you start attacking poverty instead of attacking the after effect of it, then you will find a permanent solution. So if New York City wants to be safe, and because a lot of places follow New York's lead, then we need to take a different approach to solving crime. But nobody will want to hear that, man.
You know,
Do you think the politicians and the media want to see black people on their feet? You think they want to see poor people on their feet? Nah, man, that destabilizes this system.
I,
That gives power to people who are not supposed to have power. Nobody wants to have that conversation.
I
But
can
every
agree.
time you put me in front of a camera, I'm going to have that conversation.
I can agree to an extent. And here's what I'll say to an extent. The incoming mayor is black.
Yeah.
Obviously, somebody white wanted to see a black man win. Now, what that black man does with his power is another question. And I do believe that when you're black, you carry that with you because you know you can only go so far. So sometimes people get positions as puppets because I'm sure what you said resonates with him in his heart. However, can he really do all of that? And can he do it uninterrupted? It's kind of it's like the Obama situation.
Hmm.
Obama, his hands were tied with a lot. You understand? I'm not saying that it makes it right, but you still have to go up against Congress. You got to get these laws passed. You got to hobnob with this one and that one. And secretly, sometimes they just don't like you. So I think right now, from the beginning, he knows what's ahead of him. And we're talking about New York, man, the most beautiful city and the biggest city in the world. Like it's the mother to all other cities, in my opinion. So when a black man gets control of something like that, how realistic do you think that black man is going to be by allowing blacks to prosper in front of white people?
See, that's the problem. White people don't have any power, any problem empowering their people, doing things for their people.
True,
Black people always worried about keeping white people happy.
true, very.
Oh, we don't want to offend them. And Kamala Harris is on TV talking about, well, I'm not going to do anything specifically for black people. Nah, nah. You know what? I dislike Donald Trump. But you know what I respected about his presidency?
What?
He did everything in his power to keep his white supremacist base happy.
Right,
He took care of his people. But anytime, it's a black person, oh, well, we can't do this. You know why? Because they scared they're going to lose their money. We live in a capitalist country. They're scared they're going to lose their money. They're scared they're going to lose opportunities. But the problem is, if they focused on building up the black community, if they focused on strengthening and empower black people, then they will never fall because that black community will be their crutch.
right.
Okay, like you might have to take a couple of hits, but people will be good in the long run. Now, people are calling me a terrorist. I'm getting death threats every
I
day
see.
since this happened. Well, I've been getting death threats since Donald Trump. Donald Trump called me a terrorist last year, right? So, he called me treasonous. Why? Because I tell white America the truth.
Right,
I'd say you can only push black people so far before something happens.
right. I
Like
get it.
because I say that black people will rise up one day. They have a problem with me. They want to silence me. Man, listen, let me tell you something. Sometimes you got to be the villain,
Right.
right? You said public enemy number one. I'll be that. But you
But
know
here's
what?
the here's
If I force Eric Adams to come out with a plan and to change the way policing is carried out in New York City, then I've done my job and it was worth taking these hits.
and you know what, I agree with that. However, here's I have to play devil's advocate and be mindful. I'm pro black, but I can't honor everything you're saying. And the reason why I can't honor everything you're saying is because I believe before you go out and you clean up the yards of white people by telling them the truth, you got to clean up your own. And one of the things
Bro,
I
I
would like
own a
to,
school in the Bronx.
but okay,
I feed people in the Bronx. I
hold on,
teach my people.
hold on, hold on, hold on. The reason why I'm saying that is because the first thing that we have to do as black people is stick together. If you're the president of BLM, yet you don't get along with the founders of BLM, that's a problem for me. Everybody got to get on the same page. Somehow, the same way you can take that hit, somebody needs to swallow their pride and say, listen, This is what we got to do to make people believe it. The problem with black people, and I am black, pro-black, is that we never all get on the same page. This is like an R&B group. They're good for the first 5 years, and then they always split, and they have some type of fallout, and they hate each other. It's like, can we just see the plan all the way through? With your fieriness, with your presence, you guys should be together, and you guys shouldn't be pointing fingers at each other to say this internally, because externally, that's why they don't take us serious. Until
See, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing.
and understand what I'm saying to you. I'm not even saying it to be, foul
No,
or
no, you got a valid point, but like, let me tell you something, man. I lived a life where I had to make amends with a lot of things, right?
right,
I had to make amends. I had to offer apologies. People who have problems with me, I offer an olive branch. Now,
right,
if they choose not to fuck with me, right, then it's fuck them. You
right,
know why? Because for me, this ain't about unifying black leadership. This ain't about unifying black politicians. This is about unifying black people in our communities. Like a lot of people say, oh, well, it's the activist community. No, I don't run around with activists. I run around with real people from real neighborhoods that are respected in their neighborhoods, that help their neighborhoods. A lot of people got mad at me in last year because I was like, yo, I'm not marching anymore, fam. Like literally, I'm not marching. A lot of people got mad at me because I was like, yo, if you see the police beating up somebody in your community, put down your phone and help your brother or your sister. These are not popular messages. So you have people that are PC that won't stand next to me because I say that. And not only will they not stand next to me, they're going to the media and bash me. Like this was before George Floyd. They said, "Oh, he trying to get you hurt. Don't. He trying to get you hurt." No, I'm trying to protect us. I'm trying to build a strong community,
but what
right?
you're
So when I
building,
tell
but
people,
I have to interrupt you. What you're building is something you can handle. You got to understand something. What you're saying, I do agree with, and I would believe by going that way to try to fix our people. But at the end of the day, you do have to realize that everybody is not as strong as you. Everybody can't hold what you hold. So what you preach, everybody can't practice because they're just not built that way. And sometimes what
but people
happens,
can't go into the neighborhoods and teach our kids.
no, not that part. The part about helping your
Yeah,
brother. Everybody's not gonna
yeah,
put their phones down to go help their brother because they scared to death, man.
yeah.
Like
But they
nobody want
dying anyway.
exactly, but okay, they're dying anyway. But they die. You is difference in dying anyway without having a date. You got an immediate date the moment that you put your hands on the police in New York, helping somebody else. That's just common sense. So you have to take a different approach, in my opinion. You
But
may
here's
be
the
built
thing:
like that.
we had die over gang colors.
I agree.
We had die over looking somebody in the eye.
I
We
get
had
it.
die over
You're
disrespect.
right. You're right. I agree. That still doesn't stop the fact that they're not built that way. It's a thing. It's something inside. It's internal. It's a mentality. And so their mentality tells them that we can fight over colors and I'll risk my life. But at the same time, those two sets of people that are fighting and risking their lives, killing each other, if a police car rolls in between them, both of them put their guns down.
Ain't that crazy?
So it should tell
Ain't that
you
crazy?
right at the end of the day, it's a mentality thing. So what I'm saying to you is I'm not trying to tell you how to do whatever. I'm trying to suggest that the way to approach it to make it fruitful is to first take into consideration that everybody ain't as strong as you, dog.
No,
Everybody
but
can't
here's the
walk down
thing,
the
right?
street. And you got to be
Like
open to that. That's a
here's
leader.
something that you don't know about me.
Okay.
Here's something that you don't know about me. I told people instead of marching, you and your friends get together, raise some money, and go and buy some groceries and give them out in the hood. And when people come and take these groceries, you give them a piece of paper and you talk to them about black liberation. There's so many different lanes in this.
It
There's so
is.
many different lanes in this. Like everybody don't have to be on the front line. You look at how a country operates. It has its government, it has its leaders, it has its military, it has its teachers. Like, why can't we build up a strong black nation?
We
This
can,
is
but
this
you
is
We
This
can,
is
but
what we should be focused on.
and it is something we should be focused on. I agree 1,000%, but you have to also realize that you're going to have people within that strong black nation who are strong sweeping floors. You're going to have people
Hmm.
within that strong black nation who are strong cooking. You're going to have people in that
Yeah,
strong black nation who are
right
strong
on.
vocalizing. And then you're going to have the
Absolutely.
warriors that can get out and fight. But everybody is
Absolutely.
not going to have the same attitude, energy, or power that you possess or confidence to carry it that way. So you can't get upset when people are not open to listening to what you're saying. And you have to be mindful that when the white folks hear you say those type of things, the majority of them, they're intimidated right out the gate because you're black. Like that's a given. So as soon as you hit them with a key word of anything that's violence, now you're going to become what they're labeling you as, and that's a rogue. And so now,
Okay.
before you even
I'm listen. Let me tell you something. I should have said it at in the beginning of this interview. I do not give a damn about how white people feel about me. Okay. Now, and I got white people who roll with me.
right,
I got white people, liberals and conservatives who like, you know what? I don't agree with everything you say, but I support you.
right,
I think that's what black people need to understand.
right,
You don't have to agree on everything to work together.
and I
I
agree
think
with that.
that's really important.
It is, but it depends on your level. And right now, you're in the spotlight. You're on the top
Yeah.
chain of the level. So because you're on that top chain of the level, you got to walk different, black man. Like what you're saying, I agree with. I just think the approach should be a little different. And because you're so overbearing, they're going to put a microscope on everything you say and run with it.
That's why I'm laying here with my beautiful woman. That's why I'm in church. That's why I'm not outside. Always with my kids.
Right.
I'm with my family or my team. It's really like you really got to understand. And one of your fellow Chicagoans said this last week. Like Kanye West was talking about on that Nori show how he trying to live a life like a monk.
Right.
Fam, for me, it's all God, family, and work, and my work is for the liberation of the people. And one of the reasons why this spotlight is on me right now is because I carry it different. I say the things that a lot of black leaders won't say. You know what I mean?
But it's
You know,
dangerous. It's dangerous.
God bless Al Sharpton. He does his thing his way. It's not necessarily my way. God bless the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He does his thing his way. A lot of times, you know, we out the brothers from the NOI come out and roll with us. Um, there's so many different black paths. Like I got black Buddhists who I meditate with. You know what I mean? There's
I
just
get it.
this wonderful and beautiful diversity in us. I'm just the one that's saying things that everybody is afraid to say. And I admit that it's shocking, but once they get over that shock and start listening to me, they're going to get the real deal. Now, if you say, you know, you can't do it on your own or you can't do it with your team working your way, the NAACP had to start somewhere.
Right.
The Urban League had to start somewhere.
No
These
one's
organizations had to start somewhere.
no one's
So when I
saying you
say, you
can't.
know, I'm not rocking with, you know, the BLM and the way it rolls, and I'm rolling out something different called Black Opportunities. Black people do not have any organization that can say, hey, you know what? Joe Biden ain't talking about reparations. We're going to protest in 50 states. No one black person or organization can push that button. You know what organization has the most control over black people that can mobilize the most black people?
Who?
White led organization? The
Who?
Democratic Party.
Okay.
Okay. The white Democratic Party has more power over black people than any black organization, and I have a serious problem with that. Now, don't try to say I don't want people to get confused. I'm not a conservative. I think they harbor a lot of racist practices and policies. I'm not rolling with them, but what I'm saying is there's no way that a white led organization or that white media should control everything that we do, or let me rephrase that, have the most control over our people. That's problematic.
I
White people
agree.
control the music that we put out. They control the buildings and that we live in, the schools that we go to. At what point, who's going to stand up and say this and say it needs to change? And most of the people who talk like how I talk are, hardcore black revolutionaries that aren't going to get calls from Fox or CNN or ABC to stand up in front of those cameras, right? To
Right.
give those messages on that platform. And the average person who feels how I feel in our black communities will never see a microphone in this capacity, will never have this stage. So I owe it to them. It is my duty to fight for our freedom the same way that Malcolm X did, the same way that the Black Panthers did. We don't all have to be singing kumbaya and hugging and saying we need peace with the white man. Some people need to say, hey, you know what? If you come and violate our people, we're going to protect our people.
I agree. I mean, I do agree. I think that everybody needs to be protected, and I think that it's sometimes it's tit for tat, but it's still about how you go about it. So everything you said, I don't see nothing wrong with it, and I've heard almost everything that you've said. The exception is just like you say, though. It hasn't been in front of a microphone. The things that you say are usually whispered over the dinner table in people's homes. They'll never come outside the house and say it. And I mean, for black people, I don't know what white people say because I'm not white. I don't sit down, in their private times and listen to what they talk about. And they probably wouldn't even invite me. But I get what you're saying, and it's something to be commended. But you're setting yourself up in my eyesight because once they put that label on you, now it's just easier to kill you. Now it's easy to get rid of you.
Man, like you don't even understand how we move. Like you don't understand how we move, how this society forced us to move. But I tell you what, right? Martin Luther King Jr., not the Prince of Peace. Jesus, my Savior, was the Prince of Peace. Another black revolutionary that was crucified, right?
Right.
Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X died the same way. Bottom
I
line,
know.
if you make waves in this system and you're talking in a way that will bring about change, they're going to come for you.
Right.
They're going to come for you. Whether some would say, you're doing it on your knees, or some would say you standing tall, however you want to phrase it, they're going to come for you. But check this out. Just because you would go about it a different way, does that make my way wrong, brother?
No, not without a doubt. I never said that you were wrong. I just gave you a suggestion or I gave you an eyesight, a vision. And the reason why is because I'm in entertainment and I'm in the media and I know what they think because I've had some of the same statements made against me. And I'm not on your level as far as having the spotlight on me for fighting for civil rights. But like I told you in the very beginning, I've stood on that ladder with Ben Crump, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Jacob Blake, the families of them. So I already know. And I know what I went through just in Chicago. I didn't get a chance. And you know what? I was there when Biden came to Waukegan. I was there when Kamala Harris came. I was there. I didn't attend those meetings, but I was there with those families. And not all of the family members were invited to go inside their damn selves. So I understand. But I'm just saying, like, you're setting yourself up for a dangerous thing. And it's funny that you mentioned Kanye. Kanye just hired Bill Cosby's ex-lawyer to help get out Larry Hoover. One of the biggest challenges that
We're having a Justin Moore. Justin Moore has been working on this case before. Was Hollywood
for Larry
This
Hoover?
is crazy.
For Larry
Yeah,
Hoover? Yeah, but
yeah, a young black dude, a
there's
young
a lot
black
of
revolutionary
people.
lawyer out of Houston was working hand in hand with the family. He's the lawyer that was going to this super secluded jail facility that they wouldn't let in. That what's the brother out of Houston? The Godfather of Houston, man, the boss.
Jay Prince.
Jay Prince, right?
Right.
He's the one who Jay Prince was talking about. They not letting his lawyers in to see him,
I know.
right? Like that lawyer was there before the case went Hollywood. You
Right.
know what I mean? I'm interested to know what happened with that.
But the reason why I'm saying this and the reason why I'm on this conversation is because you don't want to be a similar character or a similar statistic. And what I mean by that is although Larry Hoover deserves to be out of jail, the problem that I think white America sees with Larry Hoover is not Larry Hoover. There are other people who have taken that name of Gangster Disciple and they've gone wrong with it. For an example, I just read last week in Tennessee, somebody just got convicted. He killed 10 people. And his reward for being a leader of the Gangster Disciples, he was put on the murder squad. They had a name for it. So now when white America sees that, they're thinking about Gangster Disciple, and when they hear Larry Hoover, they're thinking about this is the man who originated it. So when they look at you like that, they say you have too much power. So as much as you can fight for that individual, white America is looking at it as this man has the power to monopolize and manipulate people's minds. And he's not even on that. But because the younger generation has come and used that name and taken it and they do what they do, he's going to be held accountable for it. And when you have that kind of power or the perception of that power, they put you in a cell, lock you up, and throw away the key because they say you're too strong. And Larry Hoover has been in jail since forever. He's 70-something years old. I don't think.
I got another take on the Larry Hoover case, right?
Okay.
Like the whole, God bless, everybody, Kanye, everybody who's out here trying to push it. But okay, so you have this large hip hop community campaign to free Larry Hoover, right?
Right.
And then you have another school of thought that says we're trying to prove that this man has no power. We're trying to prove that he's 70 plus years old. He's an old man. He's just trying to come out and live in peace. So it's just interesting, and however way it plays out, I hope that it's successful. It's interesting to see which way it goes, like which school of thought prevails and which one gets him free. Because if you got the whole hip hop community behind him, then them crackers could turn around and say, "Well, look, he has all this influence. He can come back
Exactly.
out."
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Or if you just try and play it and say, "Hey, he's quiet, he's done, he's just trying to come out." It's really interesting.
It's a flip of the coin. But the point that I'm trying to make is when you have those positions of power, you're not looked at as a normal person. You're looked at as a god. And the white people turn it around and say, because you have godlike powers or influenced, you can influence people's minds, that you're the problem. Larry Hoover is not the problem. The problem is in the streets. The unfortunate situation.
And the way we fix that problem is we change black culture.
And I agree.
Right? Is if we stop running around trying to convince these white people to do the same thing, to do right by us. Is if we figure out, and I got to play it. I'll send it to you. You can release it however you want, but we believe that we have to take our children, teach our children, train our children in law, civics being politics, and entrepreneurship. Okay. And at the same time, just giving them a realistic depiction on how the world works. We give those kids healthy food. We teach them self-defense, karate, just to get their blood working, MMA, whatever those kids like to do. And give them job skills at that same place, right? Whenever people come in, before they do any activity, they have to meditate. People who meditate have clearer minds and they're more productive. Blend in some yoga with that. We have classes for single mothers where they come in and we teach them skills over computers. We get them certifications so they can earn more money. Okay? We take young brothers, we teach them how to, formerly incarcerated people, we train them how to go out into the community and squash beefs, but also how to organize the community. So that same brother who's out there trying to dead these beefs between rivaling tribes is talking to the old ladies about their houses and how much dirt in the neighborhood, organizing community cleanups, organizing in places where people have buildings, organizing tenants association to keep it clean, to hold the landlords accountable. We really have a plan, and it's a small thing, but it could grow and really be something beautiful called Black Opportunities. And we have a blueprint to help our people.
How realistic is that the mayor, the new incoming mayor, Eric Adams, will assist you with that? And the second part of that is, do you have anything scheduled to go back and talk to him again?
I believe that we will have a conversation in the future. I believe that he's already changed some of his position, his talking points on policing. But because now he, after that meeting, the day after that meeting, he was out there talking about opportunities. I said, "Ain't this a blip?" He out here talking about jobs and opportunities. So he's changing his lingo a little bit. Where I definitely see a place where we can work together is on the food injustice and getting our people healthy food, and also with the violence interrupters. The bottom line is,
Wait.
they out here
Violence
like
interrupters.
yeah,
They have a violence interrupter program in Chicago that's run by a brother named T.O. Hardiman. Is this the same
heard of him,
organization?
heard of him. Now
Yeah.
we have several here in New York as well.
Okay.
We have people doing great work. Sister named Erica Ford out in Queens, another sister in Harlem called Street Corner Resources. We got Guns Down, Life Up in the Bronx. We also have these Save Our Streets groups. These are dope folks. People like that, we want to help. We help other activist organizations. Like last year, a lot of activist organizations were out there doing the work. They needed money. Okay, you needed money. Let me know what you need it for. I'll give them bread. You had activists who were homeless. I provide them with food. People who ain't have money to sleep for the night. We put them up in hotels. People who needed to bury their loved ones, like, got GoFundMe's up. We throwing money at them. People who need Christmas, we giving money to them. Homeless people in the street, we giving them food and money. Like whatever money we collect, it ain't ours, bro. That
Right.
belongs to the
How
people.
much money do you
You
think you guys collect? Your organization, not Black Lives Matter as a whole.
the last few years we were operating with under 100,000, bro. Like
Wow.
under 100,000. You know what I
Wow.
mean?
Wow.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
think you can?
So we really was just doing great work. You know what I mean?
Do you think you can
But
maintain that?
huh?
Do you think you
No,
can maintain that?
we actually have a $2.4 million fundraising effort going on that I want to be funded by Black people, and that's how we get our first Black Opportunity Center in the Bronx.
Okay, that works for me. Let me ask you this: do you feel a sense of pride with Eric Adams being the second black man to ever be elected to mayor's office in New York, or do you just say screw him?
Um, it ain't either or. Those are two extreme views.
Okay.
I know how Black politicians sell out Black people. You
So,
know,
are you implying that he
I,
does
I,
that?
I give Eric Adams a lot of credit
Okay.
because everybody was against him in the city.
Yeah,
Okay, everybody was against him in the city, and he found a way to make it work.
but
But
that's what
it's
black people
my
do.
job. It's my job. It's my job to make sure that he does right by the Black community. Because we look at all these Black people we elect, and they don't come through for us.
How do you
So
feel
it's
about
my
Curtis?
job to hold his feet to the fire.
How do you feel about Curtis? What Silva, Sliwa, the guardian
Oh
angel
man, I
dude?
chased him up out of the Bronx. I saw him in the Bronx trying to take pictures with people and hug kids, and I grabbed my bullhorn. I was actually on the way to get my girl some kicks, right? I had a pair of sneakers and she like, I want a pair, and the store was about to close, and I saw him, and I was like, damn, I'm gonna miss this store, and I got out of my truck, and I chased him. I ain't chase. I was just talking like he ain't for you. Don't take pictures with him. He is a racist. And I walked him all the way from 161st Street around Yankee Stadium to across the Brooklyn Bridge. Now, if we get on the type of time where Black politicians in our communities
Mhm.
get heckled just like that when they don't do right by us, like you ain't gonna walk through our hood, people gonna scream at you, let you know you ain't doing your job. Every time you try and give a speech, we gonna pop up in there why our schools are failing. If I could get Black people on that type of time across the country, notice I didn't say harming people. I said just holding them accountable, right?
Right.
Holding these people accountable, and you'll have a different kind of politics in black communities. And I gotta end on that note, good brother.
No, and that's fine, man. And I thank you for your time. But let me just tell you before you end on that note, I'm going to do my best to hold you accountable because I think that what you're doing is great. But I think within that, there's some issues. And I think sometimes you need, just like everybody else, you say what other people don't say. I think sometimes you need to have somebody in your ear to say, like, yo, look at it from a different way. I'm not saying my way is right.
Now, listen, bro. Listen. I got a law degree.
Okay.
I got mentors who are Black Panthers who
Okay.
have fought this government for decades. I have several lawyers who are always in my ear.
Look,
Make no
man,
mistake
you
about it.
gonna have Shabazz on you now.
Form. We know exactly what we doing.
Black
out
man,
here. Now you focusing on me, man. Focus on Chicago or wherever you at, man.
Nah.
Don't be putting all that energy into me. Focus on what you doing.
Hey, I'm New York, man. I'm New York till I die. And all that you have, that's great. But on some real shit, like when they see you, they see me. So whether you like it or not, I'm gonna say something like that. And if we from the same, we cut from the same cloth. That's how the game go, man. That's how the game go.
I'm seeing people writing articles.
I ain't doing all that.
Like criticizing me.
Nah, I ain't with that.
People. I'm seeing people from my past trying to make names and get hype off of what
I ain't
I'm
doing
doing.
that.
Like, I gotta let him know something.
Nah.
Like it's real parasitic. But listen, I gotta get up out of man.
Hey, man.
I appreciate you. I'm gonna check you later.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.